Good morning, everyone. A warm welcome to this track, proudly brought to you by Microsoft. At Microsoft, we are committed to helping the world stay connected, secure, and productive through COVID-19 and beyond. As more organizations do their work remotely, our top priority is really helping them to stay open for business. Together, we can enable teams up and running, all while securing and managing access to their applications, their devices, and data. Hear from us as we respond, restart, and rebuild in this new reality. The best way to move forward is together. Thanks for the introduction, Chris. My name is Justin. I'm a modern workplace specialist from Microsoft Singapore, and I'll take you through some of the things that Microsoft can help with enabling remote work, but at the same time, ensure that it is secure from the very get-go. I think it's appropriate that I start off with this slide, Microsoft's mission. Empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. To achieve more in our current context and situation is really to achieve and maximize productivity for all persons and organizations. Remote productivity comes at a price, such as, example, you telling your kids you're in a meeting, but your child badly wants your attention since you're home. Remote productivity also means having to fight for internet bandwidth with your husband, wife, and kids who are also having their own online meetings and home-based learnings. At Microsoft, we embrace and include this norm, and we want to help people and organizations achieve remote productivity with the right set of tools and technology to aid their transition, but at the same time, place cybersecurity at the heart of the matter. The reality in Singapore is this: we are in the thick of the battle with cyber criminals. This was a report for 2019, whereby Singapore is placed among the countries with the highest drive-by download attack volumes in 2019. And that was pre-COVID-19. Think about the surge of attack volume that could easily happen now that almost every organization had to flip a remote working switch in a span of 2 weeks when circuit breakers started. So what are the common problems that organizations have, right, when COVID-19 started, and in Singapore when circuit breakers started? Many organizations had VPN scalability constraints, as more people need that VPN tunnel to access their line of business applications and tools. Organizations will need to purchase new devices for staff who previously did not own laptops, and also to manage personal devices which are used to connect to the cloud and to their on-premise tools now. And a host of security issues arise from remote connectivity and implementing new security measures. At Microsoft, we have 3 approaches to securing your remote workforce. Number 1, we want to enable remote access to applications. 2, to manage devices and application. Last but not least, to protect your corporate resources as well. And you may have a top of mind concern, and every concern is valid, as every organization is at different and varying stages of their transformation journey. To start off, let's look at enabling remote access to application. At Microsoft, we have Azure Active Directory that most Office 365 and Microsoft 365 customers are familiar with. It's Microsoft's identity and access management tool. This helps you to access your applications without a VPN, ensures that users are who they are before allowing them access to your corporate resources. It also provides you with a strong and seamless authentication process, and at the same time function as a single pane of glass to manage identities and access rights. With users authenticated through Azure Active Directory and granted single sign-on to their resources, they can seamlessly access any application connected to the service. You can connect your SaaS applications, third-party SaaS application, web-based on-premise applications, as well as any of your line of business applications to Azure AD. There's a very neat feature within Azure Active Directory called Application Proxy. This is part of our premium Azure Active Directory plan that helps you to connect on-premise application from a remote client without the need for VPN. And at the same time, equip all the security at the same time be equipped with all the security controls of Azure Active Directory. Just to share as well, due to the pandemic, Microsoft registered a 300% increase in the active usage of this particular feature, and we helped many organizations deploy the feature to help their users remain connected with their daily tools and applications. Multi-factor authentication is an integral part of Azure AD with various methods of authentication such as Windows Hello, a facial recognition tool, Microsoft Authenticator app, SMS, and voice. Passwords are the weakest link in a security chain, and we recently introduced passwordless sign-ins with Microsoft Authenticator app that is currently in public preview, but do check that out. MFA essentially reduces 99.9% of identity attacks. So ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this, please also enable MFA for your personal and social media accounts for you and your loved ones. You will really prevent yourself from a lot of hassle, especially when your accounts are being compromised. Next up, within Azure Active Directory, there's also a very important feature called conditional access. Personally, I feel that this is the heart and soul of the zero trust model that we are pushing out to our customers and we're encouraging our customers to go into. So just to share what is zero trust is a principle of maintaining strict access controls by not trusting anyone by default, right? So that's why the name zero trust, right? Conditional access is built within Azure Active Directory, something that is not built on, it's built in within the feature itself. And it secures access based on conditions before allowing various levels of access to corporate resources on the cloud and on-premise. This is your first step in achieving zero trust. Next up, let's share a little bit about managing devices and application. And managing devices and apps is usually seen as a costly and huge investment for SMB. Many try to do away with it, but devices and endpoints are becoming the medium where corporate resources are being accessed, and hence it is important to manage them with the right security policies. Many IT folks will be familiar with the term mobile device management and mobile application management, both main features within Microsoft Intune, our cloud-native tool that accomplishes both. MDM helps you with device enrollment, wiping corporate data from devices, and at the same time provisions certificates and VPN profiles. Mobile application MEM helps you with configuring and updating corporate applications as well as application protection policies to ensure that corporate data isn't copied to personal applications. Intune app protection policy also allows users to use their own personal devices for work by ensuring that corporate data cannot be copied and pasted to personal apps. Personally, this is a very useful function for SMBs who are embarking their journey into the cloud, and this allows their users to not have to enroll their personal devices to the corporate network or to their domain. Policies are enforced at the app level. In this way, employees are now given the flexibility on the devices that they choose to work from, but at the same time have data protection policies to prevent any form of malcompliance. With our recent launch of Microsoft Endpoint Manager, our Intune and Microsoft 365 customers now have the capability to deploy Configuration Manager on-premise, known as SCCM as well, and have everything managed under a single pane of glass on the cloud through a unified admin console. Organizations with Configuration Manager now have the capability to manage bring your own devices through Intune, but at the same time, also bring the flexibility and capability to device management in the cloud. The last pillar that I'll share would be about protecting corporate resources. We briefly covered identities of a remote worker, as well as endpoints and mobile devices. Microsoft also protects data in all facets of how users interact with the data on a daily basis. Microsoft Teams, our hub for all things communication and productivity, allows your users to communicate internally and externally. But what happens when you have sensitive PII and numbers that you shouldn't be typing out or sharing with others? So imagine this, you're working through lunch, which is a rather common scenario now when people are working from home, and you have an external vendor that urgently requests for something unintentionally, right? Probably just dropping you a WhatsApp text or even sending you a Teams chat and say, can you send me this? And due to you rushing through your food and your kids barking at you for something that they want, you just simply drag and drop a list of customer data. Through data loss prevention in Teams, Teams blocks out sensitive information when users communicate external and internally, and also provide policy tips to constantly remind your users to keep sensitive information to themselves. With our recent simplification of our unified labeling management in Security and Compliance Center in Microsoft 365, customers now have a single place to manage sensitivity labels that help classify and protect your sensitive data. And we all also need some basic levels of threat protection for your daily email interactions and your daily work interactions with the cloud. To counter malicious attempts such as phishing and malware attacks, they are very common these days. Built into Microsoft 365, there is Office Advanced Threat Protection, helps with malicious links and attachments that might come through to your users. Use this pandemic and this opportunity and this crisis to educate your users on such possible attacks and conduct regular phishing simulations to help identify and strengthen your users' understanding of cybersecurity. Teams, our one-stop hub, right, for all things remote. Just to share as well, Teams occupy 90% of my computer usage when I'm working from home. I use it as a portal for work-related communications, as well as catching up with my colleagues with cyber praises, Teams Together mode, and lunches, right? Teams help me with getting less office sick. So just take this chance to do a quick introduction of our Power Platform and its huge integration within Microsoft Teams. So Power Platform essentially connects our solution areas in Microsoft, all the way through business application, data and AI, and all the way to Azure as well. With Power Apps, our low-code, no-code application development platform helps organizations create simple apps to simplify manual tasks and work processes. Along with Power Automate and Power BI's data visualization, Power Platform helps to bring Teams to life with application integration and data visualization into Teams. So you can add and integrate all this within a single application, and it keeps everybody within a single pane of glass. I'll touch a little bit on Surface and Teams as well. Our Surface line works seamlessly with Teams, with best-in-class microphones, video cameras, digital pens, speakers designed into our Surface line with the sole purpose of bringing the best remote work experience to your users. So let's get started, right, by understanding which phase your organization is at with securing remote work. Then look at suggested steps to help ensure the right security measures are in place. If you're already using Microsoft Online Services, get in touch with your Microsoft partners to discuss critical steps to protect your organization. So this is one of our resource page that we will be sharing with everyone. Get in touch with your Microsoft partners to ask about our Secure Teamwork Assessment, a program that helps customers deploy Microsoft Teams in your organization securely. We also have a remote working hub where you're able to read, watch, and learn everything that Microsoft has to share about secure remote working. There's a ton of resources available there, and we have put in a lot of effort and resources to build this portal for everyone in the world to access and to learn. And there's a quick link here that you can actually go into for a quick cybersecurity assessment. It's pretty much a questionnaire whereby you rate yourself from 1 to 5, do quick security assessments, and then you can discuss internally as well with your Microsoft partner about your security posture. My final slide, which I'll share on the Productivity Solutions Grant. These are the logos of our PSG pre-approved partners to help you with grants from the resilience budget. The scope of PSG has also been enhanced to include Surface laptops under the laptop bundle solutions for 3 devices, and that is available through Axiom IT Solutions as well. So with that, I thank everyone for listening to me, and I'm going to hand over to my APAC colleague, Sandeep.
Thank you for the insightful sharing. Personally, myself, thanks for sharing so much about the secure remote platform. So I think as Justin shared the tips, right, do remember to on the MFA for your own Office 365 usage, and about zero trust. I think that is something that's actually very important, especially in today whereby most of us are still based on the work from home arrangement. So please try to explore some of these things that Justin has actually put up to see whether you can actually enable some of the securities for your own working. So our next speaker is Mr. Sandeep Basu, APAC Product Marketing Lead for Dynamics 365 at Microsoft. He will be sharing on adapting to new business processes and new ways to engage customers. Without further ado, Sandeep, please.
So good morning, everyone, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk about how you can improve your business processes, how you can adapt your ways of engaging with customers, particularly in the current environment. As we are engaging with customers over the last 4 to 6 months, I think there's been a sea change in the way that our customers are working with their own customers and in the way that they are running and managing their businesses. So what I'm going to try and do over the next few minutes is talk about what are the ways that we at Microsoft can help you in engaging with your customers and improving your processes and increasing the flexibility of your operations. So let's get started. So internally, Satya Nadella, who is the Microsoft CEO, did call out that when the pandemic started, we ended up seeing over 2 years worth of digital transformation in just 2 months. And what does that mean in terms of real-time implications? What that has meant is we're talking about contactless shopping. So whether it's the Hawker Center where we are trying to essentially get everyone to pay completely cashless, to remote selling. We in Microsoft, as well as with a lot of our customers, we are all adapting to be getting into a stage where we can actually carry out the entire end-to-end sales process without necessarily having an opportunity to meet the customer or meeting the customer in very restricted environments. Things like virtual events, telemedicine, all of these have contributed to the kind of digital transformation that we are actually seeing. Supply chain visibility is something that's really gone up the radar as far as importance is concerned, particularly if you are any part of that supply chain where from the demand all the way down to supply and fulfillment. And the reason for this is before this, a lot of times people could go in and talk, people could go in and get a physical piece of paper signed off and so on. And that would come back and somebody would enter it and so on. So now what's happening is you need to be able to see that digitally. You need to be able to get that confirmation so that everyone in the organization is aware of what's actually happened. So that's just an example of something very simple, last mile delivery, which has changed very rapidly over just the last 2 to 3 months. So if you look at it, digital transformation now more than ever has actually gone up the scale. If it was important before, and it definitely was, it's just gone up 500 notches, simply because a lot of stuff which we are going to have to, which we were doing in a hybrid world where there was a lot of manual and paper related stuff, is now moving digital or has to move digital so that you as an organization have visibility across that entire structure. So essentially what we need to do is eventually you're still going to need to thrive in the current environment, whether it's working at home with your dog, with your kids coming in and, as Justin said, asking for breakfast and so on. It's going to need a new kind of resilience, and I think that's a word we have been hearing a lot over the last few months, and I think we will continue to hear as we move forward. So how do you actually, sorry, give me a minute. How do you actually end up building that resilience? So it's essentially across 3 different phases. Responding, as the initial phases when we had a lockdown, when we weren't able to do anything, we were essentially putting up infrastructure for remote work. Moving from respond to actually recovery, where we have got a hybrid environment currently. And what we've done is we've taken some of the things we built in that security that Justin spoke about. We had built an infrastructure which allows us to capture some of that remote selling process, whether it's via e-commerce engines, whether it's via video calling, whether it's via being able to share and collaborate with using CRM sales tools and so on. We've started to build in that infrastructure. Now it's about how do you stay connected with customers? How do you get that insight with customers? Because in the end, it's customers that's going to drive cash flow. It's customers that's going to drive supply chain efficiencies and visibility. So it's all about your interaction with customers. Finally, you're going to have processes which are flexible and which can adapt to changes as we navigate the next 12 to 18 months. So at Microsoft, what we believe is that we need to effectively have a sort of set of solutions which can help you respond across these 3 layers of respond, recover, and reimagine, if you like. And how that translates into the trends that we are seeing is getting a better understanding of our customers. What are their preferences? I mean, everyone's got the demographic piece, but how do they interact with you digitally? That's the new piece that's coming in. So how do you marry the physical and the digital in terms of knowledge about your customers? And obviously that's happening because customers are shifting to that digital commerce mode, whether it's a consumer application that you're selling, or whether it's food that people are ordering via Grab, or whether it's a piece of heavy machinery where you are actually using our Teams application to have a conversation, present the detailed technical specifications, go through negotiations, update that on your CRM, track it through to its logical conclusion, execute on the shop floor, and so on. And that's where the supply disruptions piece comes in, because you are dependent on vendors globally, and a lot of those supply chains have been disrupted. So how are you going to be able to respond to those changes in the supply chain? That's going to be a key part of what we do. So the way we think we can address this is across 3 different layers. The first layer is on the customer experience piece, which is how do you sell remotely? How do you service remotely once you have sold? So that's the first piece. The second piece is how do you manage your cash flow? That's become such a critical piece as we move forward. How do you manage your vendor payments against your customer receivables which are coming in? How do you get visibility of all the goods in your supply chain, whether it's incoming or outbound? And how do you use that to drive and manage your inventory? Because that, as you know, is a part of how your cash flow is actually running through. And how do you, for example, take advantage of predictive analytics for intelligent recommendations on, on how you should manage your cash, which payments should you prioritize, when's your receivable going to come in, and which machines are going to fall over first, do you need to maintain them, and so on. And finally, having the ability to tie this together with flexibility in the business process. Justin spoke about Power Apps being an integral part of our life, and we believe that building business Power Apps into the customer experience and the supply chain and the financial piece is what will allow you to have that inbuilt flexibility into your business processes. So I spoke about the fact that we need to have much more detailed insights about our customers. And what we offer is a detailed analytic AI and machine learning based product line called Customer Insights, which allows you to get that complete view of your customer pretty much in real time. And the whole idea is we are able to predict what are the customer preferences, which products should they buy at, what kind of pricing works for a particular set of customers or for individual customers. And we're doing this using machine learning models and so on, which allow you to get those deeper insights that you need. And more importantly, you've got all these insights, but how do you operationalize them? how does the person in the factory use those insights to be able to build and ship products? How does the person who's actually interacting with the customer, whether it's in a store or whether it's as a sales rep, how does he or she use those insights to be able to actually take actions, use those preferences to drive their proposals, to drive their pricing, etc. So that's what customer insights does. I've got all these great insights. I need to now be able to market to my customers based on these insights. Now that I know which products, what prices, what do they like, what don't they like, I put together a marketing and campaign program which allows you to reach out to them with messages that are tailored to their preferences, and essentially also keep abreast of compliance, because PII, managing personally identifiable information, as you know, is so critical in Singapore. So how do you manage that? How do you manage and secure the data and ensure that that's available only to the right people is an equally important part of what we do within marketing. The last part of what last part of engagement with customers is how do you service them in this new reality? What happens now is you've got technicians who have to go out. And today, for example, if I'm servicing a Rolls-Royce engine, previously you could have engineers who would fly in or go on site and look at those engines. Today, they may or may not have that luxury. So how do you ensure that you have that remote expertise coming in and supporting your engineers who are on site, on ground, who are managing a project, who need that assistance remotely? We use Remote Assist, which is part of our remote mixed reality suite of applications, and that helps you provide that remote guide, if you like, for all of your people on the ground as they navigate through the complexities of maintaining equipment, running through inspections, getting compliant on material safety regulations, and so on. So that's how we look at some of the key elements that we see in terms of engaging with customers. Moving forward to business operations, how do you optimize your business operations? So looking at it, we have one single unified platform called Microsoft Dynamics Business Central, and it covers this end-to-end layer from the point of time you start interacting with your customers to the point of managing your supply chain, to the reporting and analytics that you need, to the to the ability to manage projects, and most importantly, be able to see all of this impact coming together on your financials. The product is Microsoft Dynamics Business Central. A lot of our customers in Singapore have been using this successfully to manage their businesses. I just want to speak a bit about a couple of things that you can do with the product. Most importantly, gain visibility into your finances with real-time reporting across all of the domain areas that you have: accounting, sales, purchasing, inventory, customer transactions. Look, the difference between what we had previously and what we have today is the ability or the requirement to get that information pretty much real time and not necessarily wait for 2 days while we get that data from an offline mode. So if you have that, what we need to do is essentially connect the dots, connect the point of transaction into the system, and be able to see that impact on the financial performance pretty much real time using the Power BI dashboards. So Power BI, as Justin spoke about, is our inbuilt native reporting tool, which allows you to gain insights, identify trends and patterns, and so on. And equally importantly, helps you manage your financial close and reporting, your forecast accuracy in terms of where you're going on your sales trends, what your cash flow is going to look like, what are you going to end up at the year at. And we use a lot of these tools internally as well in managing our business. So how do you actually gain that visibility in the supply chain? You do that via optimizing the supply chain. And supply chain visibility, as I said, is one of the #1 themes that we are hearing back from our customers, which is essentially how do you respond to changes in demand? How do you respond? How do you manage your inventory based on the optimal time? And remember, there's not a lot of history that we have to be able to run a lot of these predictions. So essentially, how do we use some of this sales forecasting and forward-looking tools to be able to prevent stockouts, to ensure that your customers get the inventory that they need when they need it, despite all the challenges that you are currently facing. At the supply side of it, we built in tools to help you optimize your capacity, your production and capacity resources, and ensure that you maintain the right amount of inventory, the right reorder points, the right restocking points, triggering of purchase orders, keeping in mind the variability that you're going to have with lead time. All of those things are the things that you really that you really want to account for on the supply chain. How do you manage your demand? How do you have a forward-looking view of that demand? How does that translate into the shop floor and procurement? And how does that actually translate into the way you manage your inventory? That end-to-end, forecast to fulfillment cycle is what we are trying to enable with the supply chain piece that's built into the Business Central product. Equally importantly, you may or may not necessarily build out a complete CRM system, but within Business Central, we provide you the ability to take in your sales leads, manage those leads from the position point of time that they are leads, through to qualifying them, to converting them into an opportunity, to identifying, is this really a valid opportunity? Is this where I as a sales rep should be spending my time on? And as a sales manager, taking a look at what my reps are doing, identifying and helping them with coaching conversations in terms of where they should be spending their time, integrating the input of data from your email, your Microsoft Office, bringing it all together so that you have one single centralized place to look at your sales, your ability to service the customer, and so on. One of the other things, as we said, is we want to be able to have the ability to run the business anywhere. And that is, I don't really care whether I am at home, whether I'm outside. I want to be able to have access to my systems. I want to be able to see my financial performance. I want to be able to see what my stock levels are looking like. I want to be able to see what the status of that vendor or that customer who was on credit hold is. And all this, I want to be able to do this on my mobile devices, which is what a lot of us are pretty much living off for a fair amount of time. So Business Central provides you that ability to take your business with you wherever you go, switch off when you need to, but when you need to actually get that visibility into the business, it's right there on your mobile phone or on your tablet. So that's just a brief overview of the kind of things that you can do with the supply chain, the financial visibility, the ability to manage your your sales leads and execute them through the entire chain. Talking about, so we've got this ability to manage customers. So we talked about how we get better insights into the customer behavior, how we translate that into marketing insights and the ability to talk to customers with personalized messaging. We talked about servicing them remotely. And we talked about how all of this translates into the supply chain, how all of it translates into meeting demand, being able to match supply with demand, how it translates into your visibility, financial visibility into your business. So all of that is what we spoke about. But what you will find right now is, as I said, you need to have the ability to build out, to be able to take a lot of this and have some unique, things that are completely unique to your process, and be able to merge and mash this with the way you're managing your customers, the way you're managing your operations. And that's where the flexible business process part of it really comes in. So here, what we've got is the Microsoft Power Apps Suite. And what the Microsoft Power Apps Suite really covers is, it's designed for all organizations. So if we constantly hear that working with our SME customers, that we don't necessarily have a lot of development resources to be able to support and build out complementary applications. Maybe it's a simple application which I need for my field engineer to go ahead and capture the information that he's getting when he's talking to customers. They want to build out a simple app for that. So the whole idea is, we have tried to democratize this entire process. we provided ready-made templates, drag and drop functionality, so that pretty much anyone in the organization can use this to build out simple but mission critical applications which work together with the CRM application, with the ERP applications, and allow you to service your customers much better. The important thing with this is you can pretty much get started literally today. Once you've got some basic idea of how you build out an app and you test that app, we've got multiple hackathons, education sessions running, and so on. You can attend those, and what you can do is you can pretty much start to build out those apps immediately and start to see the impact of those in terms of capturing the information from the field. I talked about supply chain visibility. That's a great example of where Power Apps are really helping our customers be able to get that real-time information from the last mile, from that last layer of interaction, which somebody who's actually making the deliveries doing is actually providing that information back real-time to the ERP or the CRM system, so that you have visibility into what stage of what stage are your goods are, did the customer receive them, can you go ahead and invoice them, and so on and so forth. So what you can do is you can build out pretty much role-based canvas apps. So we've got applications built out by HR departments to be able to capture employee and personal information, for employees to be able to log requests. How do I know what my leave status is? These are simple apps. A lot of them today are sitting in Excel or in some legacy structures. What you can do is you can pretty much take a simple application like that, port it over into Power Apps, and Power Apps will allow you to build it out with a user interface that will allow almost every employee to be able to interact with the system in a real-time fashion with a modern user interface, and of a data model that you can pretty much integrate into your business processes, integrate into the CRM system, integrate into Business Central, as we spoke about. And you don't really worry about where and how you're going to use it. You can use it across web, mobile, embedded into a business application, standalone, any kind of device. And that's really the power of the democratization that we see within Power Apps. So you can start off with simple out-of-the-box solutions. This is something you can start off with your existing. If you're using Microsoft Office 365, you can pretty much start off on day one. As you start to get mature, you can start to build out task and role-based applications. I need an application for for my field service engineer to go and actually capture the information on the work order that he's actually just performed. I've got all of the applications in piece. I just need to be able to capture that information. That's where you're starting to build out very custom and very role-specific applications. From there, it's just one step forward to building out complete end-to-end business process solutions, which include the power of Power BI, the ability to build out those apps, the ability to have a front-end portal, the ability to have a virtual agent using information from your Power Apps and using that to be able to respond to your customers' queries automatically without you necessarily having to invest more people and energy behind that. The other part to that is Power Automate. So we have built out the apps, we have got them in a data set. Now I want to be able to use this. So somebody asks me a question on my virtual agent, what's the status of my order? So the virtual agent needs to be real time. It needs to be interactive. So what does it do? It triggers a process within this tool that we called as Power Automate. It takes the order number, sends it to Business Central. Business Central picks up that order number and says, hey, this order has been shipped out of our factory. And I'm seeing from my Power App reporting that this has actually been received at your end. So this information is something that Power Automate would pick up, pass back to the virtual agent. The virtual agent would then say, hey, you just signed for, your representative just signed for delivery of these piece of goods, and we've got an invoice on its way coming over to you. So that's what Power Automate does. It ties together the entire the entire business process end to end across different business systems. One other critical element that it does is it helps you automate different layers of process automation. So it is a native inbuilt robotic process automation tool. So if you have got, for example, a business process which needs you to share your supplier planning schedules with your supplier, and you currently have a manual process of someone going in, running a report, pressing export, sending it to a folder, having an email pick it up, and so on, you can automate this entire thing with Power Automate going in, simulating the user who goes in, prints out that vendor a supplier schedule report, automatically dumps it into a folder, automatically triggers an email flow, which sends it out to every single vendor. So it's a really powerful orchestration tool that you can essentially use to be able to manage and tie together your business processes end to end, from sales, from opportunity, all the way down into actual execution. All of this is built off a standardized data model. We have built industry templates for different kinds of industries. So whether it's manufacturing, whether it's healthcare, we've actually started up building out templates which you can pretty much pull off GitHub, and which is a place where you can go and get those templates for inbuilt standardized functionality. For example, a template for a supplier portal, which you can download, you can apply using into your own Power Apps instance, and that's something that you can use to connect back to your ERP as an example. So all of that is pre-built templates that we are providing of a standardized data model, which you can build and extend further and tailor to your specific requirements with all the business logic, security, integration, all of that built in, and built-in integration with Dynamics Business Central, with Dynamics CRM, all of those parts of them coming together. So that's how it comes together. For example, so when I'm looking at Business Central, I can essentially take data from multiple data sources, connect it with Power Automate, have a Power App at the front end, which is doing all the data collection, use that to trigger off a conversation with a virtual agent and a customer, or on a portal, answer questions from customers. So in a way, we have this Power Apps is the glue that allows you to build in flexibility into your business processes across your business applications, across your ERP, across your supply chain, across your HR systems, across your talent management systems, and allows you to adapt and respond to changes in business, because that's a platform. You have the flexibility to be able to manage the way the data goes into your process applications. So that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about in the 3 layers that we see, which will help you to respond, recover, and reimagine. In terms of next steps, what you can do is you can go out to the Go Business gov.sg portal, and where you will find a set of pre-approved Microsoft partners who can come in and support you in your deployments on Microsoft Business Central, who can come in and help you with distribution and trade finance requirements, and also help you tie together the associated funding that comes with it. So thank you very much for your time. That's pretty much everything that I had to cover. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I'm now handing off to my colleague, Patrick, who's going to be talking about how you can leverage the data in your systems to drive real business insights and so on. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you for the insightful sharing. Personally, I'm very actually very excited about the Power App as well as the Power Automate. So like what Sandeep has said, actually Justin as well, the 2 earlier speakers, they'll be still staying on throughout this whole webinar. So if you have any questions, feel free to engage them in the Q&A section. So you can just post your question there, and they will actually answer the questions offline, basically. So without further ado, I shall move on now to introduce our 3rd speaker. Our 3rd speaker is Mr. Patrick Bahama, Senior Business Group Leader for Cloud Enterprise at Microsoft. He will be sharing on chartering new growth with data. Over to you, Patrick.
Thank you very much for that, Chris, and thank you, Sandeep, as well, for setting the scene with Power Platform. So let me share my slides very quickly. As mentioned, my name is Patrick Bahama. I'm the Azure business lead for Microsoft Singapore. So what that means is myself and my team, we cover everything Azure related, which is our infrastructure as a service platform, our PaaS platform, so everything related to infrastructure and apps, but also today's topic, which is around data analytics, and we'll touch a little bit on AI as well. So as we get started, I'm not going to dwell too much on the fact that the world is changing. We all know and feel that every day. And thank you, Sandeep, for mentioning Satya's quote, because I think he really sums it up very well. We've seen 2 years worth of digital transformation in a matter of 2 months. So the digital transformation is already happening, and it's accelerated further. So with or without the unfortunate pandemic situation, everyone, we're all touching data, either creating it or consuming it every single day. Now, the overall trends still remain the same, even if they have accelerated further, in that data volumes continue to grow exponentially. They pretty much quadruple every 5 years or so, and we no longer measure data volumes in petabytes, we measure them in zettabytes. So there's certainly no shortage of data. The other point is, just as people and organizations are moving along the lines of digital transformation, one way of achieving that agility and transformation is through cloud transformation. So we're also seeing a lot of organizations moving to the public cloud. However, we don't expect to see organizations move 100% to public cloud unless they're born in the cloud, cloud native. We also don't expect organizations to stay 100% on premise and call that a private cloud. So really the future is going to be hybrid. And what does that mean from a data perspective? It means we now have data in our data centers and in multiple different cloud platforms and cloud applications. And as I am the Azure lead, the first question I get from customers who have not yet moved to cloud is, but Patrick, can I really move my data to the cloud? Is it secure to put my data in the cloud? And that's a topic for another session. I will point you to a few on-demand sessions where you can go deeper into the security aspect, because of course that is absolutely fundamental. But the data point speaks for itself. Already more than half of organizations have already put their data in the public cloud. So if you are thinking of doing so, you're certainly not going to be the first, and you're certainly not going to be the only one. So we're now at the stage where we have lots of data, we're using the cloud, and we have data in the cloud. But we still have the challenge of how do I actually take the data I have and do anything meaningful with it? Less than a quarter of employees in organizations say that they actually have the analytical tools that would help them make decisions based on facts rather than opinions. So that's the overall challenge. How do I take that data and turn it into insights? And since I myself used to be an industry analyst at another research firm, I wanted to share some market research as well. So there's a research firm called Keystone Research. They actually surveyed companies across many different industries to understand how does the top quartile of these organizations perform compared to the bottom quartile when it comes to actually taking advantage of these cloud capabilities, the ability to harness not only data, but truly analytics. And not surprisingly, they found that there's a clear difference between the top and bottom quartile, to the point that the leaders here, who are the innovators, they have managed to achieve nearly double the operating margin compared to the laggards. So clearly there is value in doing something meaningful with your data. And I guess you'll see here big organization names like Visa, American Express, Pepsi, Procter & Gamble, so huge companies, right? And one of the first questions I tend to get when I have a data conversation, particularly with smaller companies, is, so I have heard this term big data, so that means it's for big organizations, right? But that couldn't be further from the truth. And just to set some context here, you might actually be at a disadvantage if you're a large enterprise, because you're going to have a lot of legacy systems that is stuck in very old systems, in old data warehouses and other data stores, which is actually holding you back from being able to innovate with that data. If you are a much smaller and hence potentially a much more nimble company, you actually have the opportunity here to out innovate and leapfrog your larger competitors. And we've seen that time and time again. If you look at which organizations were on the Fortune 500 list in the year 2000, more than half of those are no longer on that list today. And of course, that's taken 20 years perhaps for some of them to drop out. If we look 5 years into the future, that trend is expected to continue. That if you're on the Fortune 500 list today, the risk is that you're going to fall off that list because there's going to be disruptors coming into your market and making your life more difficult. We're all very familiar and proud of the Grab story in Singapore, Airbnb and Netflix. I think all these three organizations are great examples of organizations that didn't have any legacy to carry along with them. Grab doesn't own a single taxi, Airbnb doesn't own a single resort, and Netflix doesn't own a single brick and mortar DVD store or any DVDs for that matter. And they managed to disrupt the leaders in these markets. And how did they do that? They did that by innovating and really taking advantage of information to serve up the relevant information to the relevant customers, or in the case of Airbnb, connecting the buyer and the seller essentially in a more effective way by understanding what their customers really want. So it's a huge opportunity here to actually, the smaller you are, the faster you can leverage on data to innovate and disrupt. So why do we use analytics? Actually, I can't answer that question for each one of you. You know your business yourself much better than I do, so you can understand your specific potential. But in general, if you're able to get across those data silos that you have to actually make faster and more well-informed decisions, that can help your business grow. Whether it is to find new ways of serving your customer or wowing your customer, or if it's even to prevent customers from leaving your company. If you had a customer that you lost a day or a month ago, perhaps there were already signs in your data that there was a dissatisfaction and you could actually have intervened maybe 6 or 3 months ago. So there's so many different use cases of how you and your organization can benefit from doing proper analytics. And Microsoft, we're not shy of sharing our own stories. So I actually put a link here. I believe you're all going to receive the links about how Microsoft is using data and what we call metrics that matter to actually track our own digital transformation. Now, it sounds then like a good idea to try to do a better job of driving insights out of your data, but how do I get started? It's probably a bit complicated. Big data sounds like a scary term, and yes, it can be complicated, but again, it's probably more complicated the bigger an organization you are. And Sandeep already talked about the Power Platform. I would argue, because I look after the data business, that Power BI is really the crown jewel in this Power Platform portfolio. It's also the first Power app that we created. And it's been around for some time now. It's actually the fastest growing, or one of the fastest growing products in Microsoft's history. And as you can see, it's received great reviews from PC Magazine, which is really an SMB, even consumer magazine, all the way up to the other end of the spectrum, where Gartner has rated Power BI as the leader in enterprise business intelligence and analytics. So what's really exciting about Power BI is it can really scale from, you can be a one-man band, having your business run from home and get value out of Power BI, or you can be an enterprise the size of Microsoft and also get value out of Power BI. It really has that ability to scale. And when we talk about Power BI, we talk about this 5 minutes to value and 5 minutes to wow. It's really that simple to get started, which is why I would say if there's one thing you take away from my session, it is do download Power BI desktop. It's actually free to start using. It's only once you start to get into more advanced feature that there's a cost associated with it, but it's very, very cost effective. It's something like $19 per power user and a month. And as Sandeep was referring to earlier, it's also part of an M365 SKU or a Dynamics 365 SKU as well. So you can get started very, very quickly. You can connect Power BI to all your different data sources. The most common scenario is Excel spreadsheets. So instead of our finance department in Microsoft sending lots of big pivot tables in the form of Excels around to tell us how we're doing, they now serve us a very, very neat Power BI dashboard. And our business execs can drill into this dashboard and get to the report and the insight that they are looking for. So really, really powerful way of visualizing your data. And not only that, it is a rather intelligent tool. Let's take your Excel spreadsheets as an example. If once you feed Power BI with your data sources, it's intelligent enough to actually start to make sense out of those rows and columns and actually start to anticipate, this is probably a good way to look at that data. So you're going to have a very quick experience of getting to analytics and views that's going to be useful for you, and perhaps even give you ideas that you weren't even thinking about yourself. And I already mentioned then, once you have analyzed your data, you can then serve it up in very nice Power BI dashboards, and then clickable dashboards that can get into the detailed reporting. So in Microsoft, since about a year plus ago, we no longer send spreadsheets around. We send Power BI dashboards, and that's a real-time, always up-to-date version of the data, not an Excel spreadsheet that might already be a week or two old. So really, really powerful, and therefore not surprising that the rate of adoption for Power BI has been absolutely astronomical, as I mentioned earlier. More than 95% of the Fortune 500 use Power BI, but whether you're an SMB or you're an enterprise and you're thinking about getting started on that data analytics journey, this is really where to start. So rather than me as the product guy telling you more about how great Power BI is, I am going to share about a 2-3 minute long video here of how one of the customers that we have in Canada has been able to get value out of Power BI. So let me play that one for you to get a better idea.
Patrick, there's no sound from the video.
Okay, thanks for letting me know. That's not good. Maybe I have to reshare then. I might have forgotten to click that option. Apologies. Include system audio. Let's try again.
Yep. Probably share with the system audio. Yep.
Okay, I'm going to try that again. Better?
P-Valley Tools is a family-run business.
Good.
We've been around for 40 years, and we specialize in hard-to-find, high-quality hand tools, primarily for woodworkers, gardeners, but we've recently expanded into tool use of all kinds. We have 20 retail stores across Canada, and we also sell through e-commerce. There's the old expression, what gets measured gets managed. We are very, very data-rich. We have struggled for, I would say, a few years now, trying to figure out how to interface with all this large amounts of data that we have.
We measure productivity, we measure machine utilization. Our shop is equipped with over 50 machine tools, and we have about 120 people operating that equipment. We need to understand how well it's utilized. We need to collect quality data and understand the data patterns and the quality problems that exist.
Quality is a data-driven profession. It is all about maintaining control over the engineering specifications and measuring against that.
So we brought in a firm to work with us on process improvement and an operating system. One of the tools that they introduced us to was Power BI. And all of a sudden, within a very short amount of time and a very reasonable amount of IT work, we've been able to liberate all this data into information. And it's now in the form of various dashboards, one holistic dashboard for manufacturing. And then that's fed by drop-down dashboards for each work center in manufacturing.
Before we collected data on whiteboards in the factory, and that data found its way into various databases. And we looked at largely the same data, but it was very disconnected.
You had to pull it into maybe a spreadsheet and then do a report. And then as soon as you do the report and print it, it's old data.
Knowledge is power, right? So when you're looking at that much data, you might miss something. You might not really get down to the root cause. What BI has done for us is now taken all that source data, put it into a nice format and allows us to really dive deep and understand where our underlying problems are and where the opportunities to improve really are, and it's a fantastic interface.
Real-time data provides the best source for improvement. The sooner that we're aware of the problem, the sooner we can solve it.
In terms of visualizations, it's really opened up a lot of new frontiers for how we can look at our data, how we can make it work for us, and how it can lead us to make better decisions.
Our productivity is improving, quality is improving. We're reducing our backlog and our back orders. I would say it's going well.
Lee Valley is actually in the middle of a significant digital transformation.
Today we're looking at different ways of looking at problems, different ways of collecting data and formatting data. There's a saying today, your processes are in the worst shape that they'll ever be in, which means that we're only going to steadily improve.
Okay, I wanted to share that video because I think it does a better job than I do at explaining the value of Power BI. And what I actually really like about what the customer says here is they're a tool company and Microsoft is a tool and platform company, but it's not just about the tool. Certainly the tool will help you, but if you're going to get your house in order, it's equally about your people, your processes, and your data silos. So if we switch gear a little bit here, Power BI is a great place to get started, but as your business grows, so will the volume of data and the disparate systems in which you're going to have that data. So that data silo challenge is real, and the bigger you grow, the bigger a problem that becomes. So I wanted to talk briefly about the concept of a modern data estate and a modern data warehouse or big data, whichever word you want to use for this. The idea here is that you're going to have data in many different places. So your data is going to be spread across your hybrid environment. It's going to be spread in structured form, whether it's in SQL or Oracle or other flavors of databases. You're also going to have unstructured data. You might have important information in email format or in written format, or you might be getting positive or negative feedback through Twitter feeds that you need to capture. So how can you get control over all of that data? Because the old saying that the quality of your analytics is only as good as the quality of the data is very, very real, right? So to solve that problem, enterprises have been doing for some time now these concepts around big data analytics. The exciting thing about cloud, it really makes some of that analytics, number one, possible from a compute and scalability perspective, but also cost effective. So if you look at the different steps that a data engineering and a data scientist and even an AI or analytics team would have to do in a larger organization, they first need to figure out, how do I ingest all my data from all my multiple sources? And yes, you can do that with Power BI, but you can't really cleanse the data with Power BI. Then you need to store it somewhere, and that can become very, very cost prohibitive if you have to buy expensive NAS or SANs on premise. And if you start using the cloud, you're going to be able to use extremely cost-effective storage in the form of an Azure data lake that's going to charge you cents per gigabyte a month. You're never going to be able to compete with that price on premise. Then once you have the data in a data lake, you have all sorts of data. You have unstructured data, you have structured data. So you now need to get your analytics team to do some analysis, preparation, and training on top of that data, whether it's for analytics purpose or more advanced analytics purposes, where we start to talk about AI and machine learning. So once they have done that and cleaned the data and prepped the data, you store the quality data as a single source of truth in a data warehouse. And now you're at a stage where even if you're a large enterprise, you use Power BI to then visualize your insights that you have been building throughout those different steps. Of course, this looks a little bit complicated, and you would traditionally, whether you go to Azure or AWS or other options, you would use a number of different tools to do this. Data Factory, Data Lake, perhaps Databricks, and then a data warehouse. What Microsoft has done, because we want to try to simplify the experience also for these more power users, is to combine these capabilities into one solution that's called Azure Synapse Analytics. And it really brings all of these different steps into one solution. I'm not going to drill too much into what Synapse does, but actually Grab, who I referred to earlier, is one of the earlier adopters, not only in Singapore or in Asia, but actually globally. I think they're one of the first 10 customers using the new flavor of Azure Synapse. So I have included a link to that story. It's almost 10 minutes long, so I'm not going to play it here, obviously, but it's definitely worthwhile looking into that story if you're interested to make this more real for you. So I wanted to share only a couple of minutes here. I'm jumping in a few minutes into a story here from Hanuma, which is a healthcare company, just to show you how they are trying to address that problem of, gosh, I now have so many different tools. How do I simplify my experience? I love Power BI, but how do I simplify the more back-end tools as well? So let me play just a minute or two of this video.
So in 2018, Humana undertook our beginning of our digital journey. We really formalized it by creating the vertical that Sean and I sit in called Digital Health and Analytics. And as part of the business case for digital health and analytics, we did a survey with an outside consulting firm. And what we found is that our analytics professionals were using 47 disparate data sources and BI tools. Just to let that sink in for a moment, you can imagine that it's very difficult to become a master of anything if you have 47 different tools that you should be a little bit familiar with. So since 2018, our team, along with the rest of Digital Health and Analytics, has been working to standardize our data sets, standardize our reporting tools, and we're really doing that, moving toward this idea of the data in our Gen 2 data lake in Azure and using Power BI specifically, but also other elements of the Power Platform, so that our analytics professionals can really become experts in the Power Platform and not have to sort of spread their learning journey across multiple sources. And what we're really working toward is this data-driven culture, and that's where our team Analytics Platform as a Service comes in. So what we're working on right now is migrating our data.
So in the interest of time, I'll actually stop there, but you have access to the links. So if you're interested to hear the longer version of that story, then you can do that on your own time. But really, it's about simplifying the set of tools and the platforms you need to use. So the idea here is, with Synapse Analytics and Power BI and the rest of the Power Platform, you can actually do everything that you need to do. Okay, so I'm about to close off. Sorry about the noise. There's someone fogging outside my window. That just shows it's a live show. So I wanted to talk very, very briefly about AI as well, because AI has really become the favorite marketing buzzword if you're working in IT. I think it's overtaken cloud in the recent years. So I just want to make AI a little bit more real. What really is AI? And then I'm going to leave you with some free learning paths that you can take to really go deeper into this. So first of all, what is AI? AI, artificial intelligence, is really a way to make a computer act, behave, or at least seem to behave more like a human in terms of the intelligence. And you can really divide that into 2 or 3 broad categories. You have cognitive and conversational AI, and you have AI for decision making. So on the cognitive side, it's really about making a computer being able to understand or use vision, speech, language translation, and other human cognitive capabilities, either to make informed decisions. For example, you could use a vision AI to create a driverless car, which a lot of different companies are working on right now. Or you could use it to interact and engage with a person in a more natural way, like Alexa or Cortana, or whichever your favorite device is that you're talking to these days. And speaking about talking to someone, you can also put these capabilities into what's called a bot or a bot service. And that's really to help you as a consumer, instead of having to sit on a telephone queue with your bank, your insurance company, or your telco provider to answer a couple of simple questions. Chances are you could actually get to those answers without speaking to a human and spending that time on the telephone line, simply by engaging with a bot. So you've probably all seen the bots. They can be really good sometimes, and they can be really bad sometimes and really frustrating. But that's also AI-powered capability. And then we have the area that's much more closer to analytics, which is the machine learning space. And it's a bit of a gray zone. What's actually simply advanced analytics versus what's machine learning? And the concept really with machine learning is to build a model where the computer starts to be able to make decisions based on your model. So it's still within the guardrails of a human. We're not going to see any Terminator machines anytime soon. But it allows the computer to make decisions faster. And you would have heard about things like Big Blue and these other computer systems that can now beat humans on chess or whatever, AlphaGo. type game you want to play. So this is really making a lot of progress in all of these areas. And of course, it can be applied in many exciting fields. So why are we talking about AI now? There's really two reasons. One is we now have a lot of data, as we talked about earlier, but we also have the compute power to do some real heavy computing on top of that data. So perhaps 10 years ago or even 5 years ago, it was really only the NUSs and the NTUs of the world that had those high performance compute clusters to really do anything close to AI or machine learning. But with the power of the cloud, you can actually do that really cost effectively by using your favorite cloud service. Hopefully that's Azure to do that type of AI work. And I'm not going to talk too much about the tools here, other than to say that AI is not just a data domain or analytics domain area. If you really want to bring AI to life, it's exciting what you can do as a developer. Bot is a perfect example. That bot is probably written by a developer. And whatever application you're looking at developing, Grab again, perfect example. They are building these kind of capabilities into their applications to make them more exciting or more insightful to engage with. So that's the little AI myth-busting slide I wanted to use. And just to tie it all together also to the earlier conversation around Dynamics and Power Platform, what we're really trying to do is democratizing AI, or if I want to avoid the buzzword, democratizing analytics perhaps, for every employee. So Azure is really for that deep technical expert, whether he or she is a developer or a data or AI scientist. We have the tools for that. If you're more of a power user, perhaps you work in finance, or perhaps you're a citizen developer in the sense that you know your business processes, you're just not a developer or a coder. That's where you use Power Platform and Power BI. And even if you're a business user, you're going to be able to get access to that analytical capability directly in the SaaS business application that you use, whether that's being able to switch on narrative in Mandarin, for example, when you're in PowerPoint and giving a presentation in China, or if it's being able to do analytics on top of that Dynamics ERP or CRM application that you're using that Sandeep was referring to earlier. So that's really to kind of wrap it up. We can't go much deeper in this session today, but I have provided in this slide a few really good learning paths. If any of these areas catches your interest, whether it's I want to learn Power BI or I want to understand AI from a technical or a business standpoint, or even understand cloud better and security. There's plenty of free learning paths available on this platform called Microsoft Learn. Really high quality courses that you can do for free online at your own pace. And we also offer a number of instructor-led free training as well. The last two links are in that category. So do make the most of the learning here, whether it's for yourself or your employees, to really understand more about how this would really work at the next level of technical detail. So with that, I'm going to wrap up my session. Feel free to reach out to me over either email or connecting with me on LinkedIn if there's anything in particular that you would like to discuss and learn more about. More than happy to help with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Thanks for the insightful sharing and making business analytics sound so easy. Personally, myself, I think our Microsoft subscription is eligible for the Power BI. I'll probably also download and check it out. So once again, thank you, gentlemen, for your insightful sharing. All our earlier speakers are still with us for this session. So if you have any questions relating to collaborative tools, CRM, accounting, marketing, and also cloud hosting and analytics, please feel free to engage Justin, Sandeep, and also Patrick offline in the Q&A session. They'll be staying with us throughout the whole webinar. So without further ado, we'll now move on to our final segment, which is the Fire Chat with our host, Ms. Karen Lim, Customer Program Manager at Microsoft, together with the guest speaker. So our guest speaker will include Ms. Catherine Chong, Director for SMEICC Go Digital at IMDA, Angeline Lee, Managing Director at WizLogic Private Limited, and also Caroline Chu, Director for Econo Green Private Limited. Over to you, Karen, to take off the Fire Chat, please.
Thank you, everyone. Hi. So thank you for joining us at this last segment of Microsoft session. As our earlier speaker has shared with you on various digital solutions, right from secure remote working, adapting new business processes, new way to engage customers, and how you can actually charter new growth with data as a key in this new normal. So we are very honored to have here with us today. Let's begin with Ms. Catherine Chong, Director SME Go Digital, IMDA. Catherine actually spearheads the deployment of Infocom technology among SMEs and leads a team defining strategies, identifying initiatives and programs for the various different sectors. So hi, Catherine. Thank you for joining us today. As we all understand that this pandemic crisis continue to disrupt lives and businesses around the world, the situation is proving particularly more challenging for SME. So in responding to this crisis, it has become more pressing for SME to digitalize and enhance their capability in order to be more resilient. Could you share with us what are the available grants and schemes that SME can get support on from the government?
But first of all, I'd like to thank Chinese Chambers and also Microsoft for giving us the opportunity to discuss this topic with the audience. It's a very interesting topic, a very hot topic today. As Karen has rightly pointed out, when COVID-19 hit us, everybody is caught off unaware. And so the government has to react quickly to offer the enhancement in our program in order to keep up with the special needs under these circumstances, with the disruptions caused by COVID-19. So what we have done quickly in April was to enhance the support for PSG and raise it from 70 to 80% from April to December. At the same time, most importantly, we introduced solutions that the businesses would need during this disruption period. Solutions like collaboration tool, online collaboration tool to promote remote working, visitor management like temperature screening, queue management, virtual meeting as well tools. So these are the tools that businesses would need during this period. At the same time, together with ESG, we also introduced the booster packages for e-commerce, so that whether you are in the retail sector or whether you are in the food sector, you are able to continue your business using the e-commerce platforms. And we are also very heartened that our ICT industry also reacted very quickly and joined us in offering these solutions to the businesses. Without their support, I think the initiatives would also not come so far. In fact, what we also noticed from the trend of take-up so far, since 2017, we have about 10,000 SME taking up PSG supported solution. But within the short period from April, when we introduced the COVID solutions, 5,000 SMEs actually took up the solution. So that shows that we have actually hit it right at the spot for the SMEs, for the kind of solutions they need during this period. At the same time, for the e-commerce booster solutions that are targeting the retail and the food sectors, we see about more than 10,000 taking up the booster packages as well. So we hope that these initiatives will continue to serve more of the F&B and the retail that have not come forward to use the solutions. At the same time, we also have introduced a digital resilience bonus scheme. So on top of the grant support that you can enjoy from the initiatives that I just described, you can also stand to, for those in the retail and food sectors, you can stand to gain up to 10,000 bonus if you are able to show that you have digitalized successfully.
Okay, thanks.
Yes.
Thanks, Catherine. So
Yes.
that's very comprehensive, but how can SME actually take advantage of all these government support available? And could you also share with us, example, what are the benefits most SME has actually reaped from all these grants?
SMEs who have taken up such solutions that I described just now could see their business not just continue during this crisis period. In fact, they actually see themselves increasing their revenue. which is might be surprising to some of you, but that's true. In fact, we have a company called, we have one of the SME who took up our initiative, Forward Coffee Roasters. During the COVID period, they took up to online selling, and they see an increase of tenfold in terms of their sales. And this is something that they wouldn't have realized if not because of this crisis period, and if not because they took the opportunity during the crisis period to try out e-commerce. So this is something that is the opportunity is available to the SMEs. It is then for the SMEs to take that first step to overcome the barrier of going on e-commerce or related solutions during this crisis period. Yeah. Over to you, Karen.
Okay, thanks, Catherine. Certainly great sharing here. I believe the audience also would like to hear from our customers directly on how has that worked out for them today. So with that, we are glad to actually invited a Microsoft customer here today with us to share how they actually benefit from the grant. Let's start with Ms. Angeline Lee, founder and managing director of WizLogic Private Limited, who specialize in printed circuit board and support clients from a range of industry, including consumer and industrial electronics, as well as medical, space, and military organization. So hi, Angeline, thanks for joining us today. Maybe to begin with, what was the state of technology adoption you were at prior to COVID? So post-COVID, how was it at your technology adoption, and what are the few key impacts of COVID-19 had on your business? Over to you, Angeline.
Hi, Karine. Thanks for the wonderful introductions. Okay, the COVID-19 pandemic indeed have severely disrupted the whole global economy activities, which lead to both demands and supply side disturbance to the Singapore economy. So as a SME, WizLogic also faced the same challenge. The greatest impact was the business slowdown in electronics industry. Travel restriction and social distance measurements means that we could no longer have physical meetings and project discussion with our customers. Internally, the pandemic means that a majority of our employee needs to be work from home, and some of the current work processes need to be modified accordingly within a very short time frame. So before COVID-19, WizLogic operates just like normal SME. Everybody is working in the office. All our documents were saved in our physical server in our premises. So as we celebrated the Chinese New Year this year, we also closely monitoring the pandemic situation in China. We started to prepare BCP, business continuity plans, adopt the requirement measures for each DORSCON code that according to MON, there's guidelines, and implement suitable work from home processes for all our employees. So before circuit breaker, we have already conducted 2 rounds of test drill for work from home. So the good news for both WizLogic and our customer was that we already both Microsoft user. We knew that we could use Microsoft to foster and maintain team morale while continue to engage with customer and drive positive experience. The coronavirus, in a way, really invite us to do change to move into faster and secure way of safe remote working. COVID-19 also forced us to reorientate very quickly to be able to work from home within a very short time frame. So luckily, Microsoft 365 helped us to shorten the entire process with additional security to our data. Yes.
Thanks, Angeline. So how about, I know that you are also the beneficiary of the grant. How has the leverage on PSG grant and digital solutions from the pre-approved vendor, in this case for Data Connect, actually supported you?
Okay. SME bosses, actually there's a lot of grant on the IMDL website. the SME bosses can leverage all this grant that is supported by IMDA to reduce investment costs. So the pre-approved vendor solution under PSG, there's a lot of applications such as logistics, finance, human resource, internet security, and many more. So I would suggest SME bosses to spend some time to search for the best suitable grant. So find a good IT solution partners to work with, and it can really help to simplify your company processes and increase process with just some small investment. So the application and the grant submissions procedure is very simple. And most importantly, the 70 to 80% funding is very beneficially for this SME like us. So actually, we are very fortunate to have started using Office 365 since 2014. So when this COVID-19 strike, WizLogic worked together with our IT partners, Data Connect. They advise us to immediately upgrade from Office 365 to Microsoft 365 E3 license for better security. So we decided that we really need a bigger storage space for email and OneDrive with also better enterprise-grade security options. And we also would like to have some chance to use Microsoft 365 live event like this, what we are using right now, to conduct a better scale webinar. Yes. So over to you, Karine.
Yeah, thanks, Angeline. So you mentioned about all these. I believe it helped you in terms of increasing those productivity within your company, especially your staff itself. Can you share some example with us?
Sure. So I think the productivity is really higher as now the staff can have more email functionality, file sharing, and storage capacity, as well as better security. So the usage of team as a project collaborations and delivery platform among co-workers has been provided a clear benefit for WizLogic employee. So very quickly, we are able to conduct company and external client meetings on Microsoft Teams. The ability to share screen was actually a very useful feature to facilitate virtual discussions. I also pleased to use Microsoft Teams to monitor ongoing project status and milestone, as well as to conduct daily check-ins while working remotely. So Microsoft 365 allow us to access document and email from anywhere. We also really like the way that we can back up the files into the OneDrive instead of saving on to our usual on-site server. And this definitely guarantees important client information that is well protected. Yeah, over to you.
Okay, thanks, Angeline. So I heard that this journey has been great so far in terms of helping you do a lot of remote working with you and your employees. Has that actually resulted in higher customer satisfaction as well?
Yeah, shifting completely into digital working has been considered success for us. So we have to learn to work comfortable with only being able to do virtual meetings with our colleagues, customers, and vendors. We really valued all this human touch in business. So we also believe that when business slow down, that's the best time for us to fine-tune our work process and improve it, because we are always too busy for that when the time is good. So digital transformation was definitely work for us. Yes.
Okay, thanks, Angeline. I think this is really a great opportunity for SME to really look at their business model and embark the digital journey if they have not started. So, Angeline, I'll hold on for a moment. I'll come back to you in a short while. But back to Catherine, right? What is the outlook in the coming months, and how SMEs can actually reposition themselves in this new normal?
The trend that has started because of COVID-19, I don't think there is any turning back. Our customers are now more IT savvy, more than before. because of COVID-19, they have learned how to use online applications in much, convenient. They find more convenient. They find more convenient to buy online. Might find more. Even our workers find more convenient to work online. Our business partners are also used to, interacting with each other online. There's no turning back, because even if COVID-19 is over, even if the circuit measures are completely lifted, the community of the consumers as well as the businesses are likely to continue these practices ahead. In the future. So for companies who are not adopting such tools to help them get into this bandwagon of becoming a digital business, I think there's a sign that you need to do something right now, because the thought that we will go back to the normal way of practices whereby everything is shopfront kind of shopping only is no longer going to happen. So this is a time not just to reflect, but this is a time to take action. This is a time to make a difference to your business. This is a time to build the future for your business using digitalization. Yeah, back to you, Karin.
Thank you. Thanks for the final in terms of closing from a IMDA perspective. But let's hear from our customer, Angeline. Right, moving forward in going forward, right, in this new normal, what are the few decisions in digital areas will be your key focus to help you grow your business? Angeline, over to you.
Okay, since 90% of our workforce are still working from home, WISlogic will continue to focus the below 3 areas. So number 1, we will be continue improving accessibility for greatest convenience. We already shifted our HR software to be the cloud-based version instead of on-site solution that can be accessed by our employee at any location. We also continue to work towards shifting our account software onto the cloud also. So number 2 is to improve operating efficiency. We will gradually replace all the desktop to laptops for easy transportation, and that is also more suitable for employees to work from home. And another thing is we also streamline current processes to suit both work from home and work from office. Lastly, we also do technology upgrades. We currently improving operation and back-end technology. So in the next phase, we are looking into pre-sales technology improvements. So lastly, moving forward in the new normal, I believe that the SME bosses will agree with me that we should always have open and positive mindset to ride through this COVID storm. So thank you. Back to Karin.
Thanks, Angeline. Okay, let me introduce you all to another great customer of ours, Ms. Caroline Chu, Director of Econo Green Private Limited. Econo Green is a reputable supplier of trade labs products focused on being one-stop shop for clients for pharmaceutical products. Hi, Caroline. Thanks for joining us today. Similarly, I think I will ask you some of the questions here, like what are the few key impacts within manufacturing industry, I'll say wholesale industry of yours that had on your business? How does COVID actually had an impact? Over to you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. So I realized that consumer buying behavior has actually changed from, what they used to buy, and then new habits are being formed in terms of culture of work, from home, and social distancing. Regulation. So uncertainty in terms of the supply chain due to some supplier coming from overseas, because we have a lot of suppliers from overseas, and we need to keep track of the purchases and delivery timing, which can be subject to change, at such notice due to a lot of countries, at the time were having some lockdown. We need to be able to respond in a real time. So uncertainty in the external business environment, as a company, the team needs to work as a tight integrated unit to be able to manipulate around the corners and over the pumps. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Caroline. So, what was the state of technology adoption you were in prior to COVID-19?
Okay, like a lot of most SME, we focus more on the business and operation side of the teams. Okay, on technology adoption, right? We actually invested in basic hardware, such as a PC, laptops, network, because every company, needs a payroll and accounting software. So we have these two. So with this basic technology, we will be able to support our individual departments to perform their work, although not at a level which I would prefer, but as I will still see quite a number of tasks and functions are being done manually. Yeah.
I see. Okay. So how has leveraging on the PSG grant and digital solutions from your the pre-approved partners that you are working with, in this case, Winspire Solutions, supported your business?
Okay, so there comes a time when I decided that most manual tasks and processes need to be automated for better productivity. That is when I decided to shop for a business solution which can not only automate my manual processes but also to integrate my various departments for better coordination, especially to better respond to constant changes in this uncertainty business environment. So PSC grant is actually a wonderful scheme which SME can rely on because the government agency has done most of it. Not on all the work in helping the SME, not only on all the work performing all the due diligence and mark the checklist when selecting the right vendor and solution. So it actually helped us a lot because there's a checklist to select the vendor. And of course, the funding helped to address to a large extent the stress of making investment in the area which traditionally SME would shy away from. Yeah. So we have put in place a pre-approved business solutions from Microsoft called Business Central, and a pre-approved vendor is Winspire Solution. So I'm actually happy with the decision because now my team across all the departments are well coordinated and work on one single solution. So the project was actually very well managed by the Inspire team, and it goes a long way to show how the PSG grant scheme has helped us tremendously to locate the right solution and right vendor with their pre-qualification process. So I thank you IMDA for that. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Caroline. Okay, Catherine, you want to speak on anything?
Okay, I want to take this opportunity to thank both guest speakers for helping to describe how they can leverage on the pre-approved solutions in the most efficient and effective way to digitalize your businesses. And this is a joint effort between the agencies, especially IMDA and ESG. Yeah. So thanks for helping us to explain it in a clearer way on how you can tap on it. But I thought at the same time, I understand Caroline also mentioned that there's during COVID-19, because of travel restrictions, there's also a need to see how to interact with your overseas clients better or your business partners. So I want to take this opportunity to introduce Grow Digital. There's also another initiative that we launched during this COVID-19 period, because we want to encourage the companies not only to look at local opportunities, but also overseas opportunities during this difficult period. Because all the more when your business have gone digital, when you have gone e-commerce route, you are able to capture opportunities beyond Singapore. So Grow Digital actually helps you to go find your new customers, find new business partners in other countries without being physically there, without having any physical interactions between both sides, with your customers or your business partners. In fact, we have pre-approved about 11 B2C, B2B platforms that you could consider the one that best suits your business. we do have a very good success story since we launched. More than 1,000 have taken up the platforms, and one particular example that we could share with you is Yappy Pets, one of the biggest suppliers for the pet food in Singapore. So they were one of those that actually make use of the Grow Digital initiative to come on board multi-channel e-commerce platform, and they are able to, as a result, they are able to get into new markets like Malaysia, Indonesia, and Thailand through Shopee's marketplaces. I think this is a very good step for our companies to consider to go beyond our shores. So check out the Grow Digital initiative as well. Thank you. Back to you, Karine.
Okay, thanks, Catherine. Okay, last questions for Caroline. Moving forward in the new normal, what are the few decisions in digital areas you'll be focusing on to help your company growth?
So I think after the implementation of the ERP system and seeing the benefit coming out of it, I was able to get to the next level of thinking how technologies can help SME like us to drive better efficiency and to reach out to new market, and also to address changing consumer buying behavior in a new normal. So there are some areas we talk of the management level with our vendor, e-invoicing, so between business partners such as customers and supplier, we can digitize and transmit electronic documents like invoices and PO so that it cut down on the transaction and processing time. So and also customer e-commerce portal will also be a great tool for customers to sell services for us to sell services for customer to place their order, and for checking out our products and transact online. I really think that this technology would deliver one of the most positive impacts in terms to business. So data analytics to help us to better decisions, to make a better decisions in this dynamic and ever evolving environment, so that we can proactively address business challenges and most importantly to address new emerging business opportunity for us. Okay, so I've understood that under the recent Fortitude budget by government, there's this digital resilient bonus, and it's only applicable for SME in the food services and retail sector. I mean, since the benefits of adopting the right technology can benefit all SME, across all sector, it would be good if, they can consider to also to cover the wholesale distribution sector. Yeah.
Thank you, Caroline. We hear you. In fact, we have also received similar feedback from other sectors as well. We will look into it and how to extend the bonus scheme to more sectors. Okay. Thank you for your feedback.
Great. I think it was a very good and really a nice fire chat that we have across all different parties and coming together for the SME community. Thanks for the great opportunity here. So we want to close off to thank all speakers here, not just the three ladies here and our three gentlemen before, right, from Microsoft as well. So as Singapore economies enter the next phase of its fight against COVID-19, I think there's no better time than now to help SMEs to accelerate the adoption of digital tools like Microsoft and from our partner solutions to boost their growth and becoming more resilient. And the best way to move forward is actually together as an entire ecosystem. Okay, so thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your day, audience. Thanks. Over to you, Chris.
Thank you, Karine, and our fellow panelists for the wonderful, insightful discussion. I believe the audience here have a lot to take away and actually borrow from the success story that's actually being portrayed. So we really encourage all of you to jump on the digitization journey. So once again, thank you, Microsoft team and the guest speakers for joining us today. I hope everyone actually benefited immensely from the team's insightful sharing. I personally did. just a special call out to everyone actually regarding the digitalization journey. I think I've been working closely with IMD, especially Catherine's side, for the past close to 10 years. I think government has been actively pushing for digitalization. In fact, I think Singapore is one of the countries that have been aggressively pushing for this digitalization over the past 10 years with the grants. I think one of the key competitive edge for a lot of companies previously, right, was this part about digitizing their business through ERP, accounting, and CRM solutions. So in a lot of other countries, there's really not a lot of grants for businesses to tap on. But in Singapore, the government is actually very proactive. They've actually come up with a lot of grant programs to actually help businesses to adopt such solutions. So I think it's a good time because like what Patrick mentioned, I think SMEs are basically small. If you actually allow yourself to adopt such solutions, you actually make yourself more agile. So that will actually allow you to make a lot of decisions faster. And especially if you are on Microsoft and if it comes with the Power BI and stuff like that, you can actually easily use it to actually get some analytics out of your business. So I think something that's actually been everybody has been trying to push is this telecommuting solutions. So with this COVID-19, I think everybody has been scrambling, and it's actually driving a lot of adoption in this area. So I think we hope that through this session with Microsoft today, you'll be able to see that you're actually able to communicate and collaborate with your colleagues through Teams, but also to run the live event itself using the same license to conduct a webinar together with your customers. So with that, thank you all for joining us. So to those who are keen to sign up for SMEICC membership, please do take note of this special offer that we have till 21st of September. We have now come to the end of this session. So I understand that there's been a lot of comments asking for slides and stuff. So please scan the QR code on this screen to let us have your feedback and actually comments on the SMEICC Live through the feedback form, and also indicate that you wish to receive the slides over here. So if you do not make any indication on this survey form, we will not be releasing the slides to you. So please use this form to actually relate back to us that you actually wish to have the slides so that we can actually extend the communication to you. So we have more exciting tracks and top-notch speakers coming up for you this afternoon. Please do continue to join us. You may scan the QR code as well on this screen for the full program. Look forward to seeing everyone back at 2:30 p.m. Thank you so much.